Republican defends her campaign strategy, even as a return to the public stage refocuses attention on a race that Democrats still can't believe they lost. Clinton will talk to Jane Pauley about the loss on CBS Sunday morning. Bill Rakoff, CBS News.
I'm Scott Tannen, founder of Boll & Branch, where you can get the world's most comfortable sheets for less than half of what you'd pay in the store. Our sheets are made from 100% organic cotton and get softer over time. Even 3 U.S. presidents have Boll & Branch sheets. Try them for 30 nights. If you don't love them, send them back for a full refund. Go to bollandbranch.com today for $50 off your first set of sheets, plus free shipping with promo code SLEEP. Spelled B-O-L-L and branch.com. That's bollandbranch.com, promo code SLEEP.
Does your basement or crawl space have damp, musty odors? Do you worry about indoor gases and pollutants? Everyday living generates moisture that can nourish mold and odors, even asthmatic triggers. Indoor pollutants linked to respiratory ailments, birth defects, and cancers can become trapped in your home. You can't buy health, but you can buy Wave's moisture control and air quality products. Wave Home Solutions for a dry, healthy home. Satisfaction guaranteed. Go to dryhome123.com. That's dryhome123.com.
It must be, it has to be, with that big sound it's gotta be KSCO.
You're listening to KSCO, serving freedom, Hunter Liggett, and Jamesburg.
Good morning, you're listening to AM 1080 KSCO, Santa Cruz, California, 10:07, a beautiful Saturday morning, September 9th, 2017. I am Jason Struby here with your weather and traffic report. Things pretty quiet out there so far. Highways 117, 101 rolling at the limit on the Central Coast. Look at the incident board. We had a traffic hazard report at Kings Creek Road on Highway 9. No details in a collision east done at Jackson Oaks Drive near the bridge. We'll have a high near 70 degrees in Santa Cruz today, 80s inland tomorrow, much hotter, 81 for Santa Cruz, 90s to 100 inland. Patchy drizzle overnight through tomorrow morning and high winds up to 23 miles per hour all day today and tomorrow. And it's 10:08, time for the Saturday special with your host, Mike Z.
Yo, Jason Struby, how are you?
Yeah, feeling good. How are you feeling?
Yeah, you sound pretty good.
Nice. You too.
I'm going to try to be pretty good, even though something terrible happened to me this week.
Oh, no.
We'll talk about it a little later.
Okay.
But we are streaming live on YouTube,
Yes, that is correct. We are on YouTube.
Right.
That's right.
All right, with a video. And it's probably better that people don't tune in because there's usually a great disappointment, when they see what the people that they're used to hearing look like.
True.
So, so why are we doing it? I'm just realizing, why are we doing it? Because that's a true statement. We all agree with it. They say people have great faces for radio, and that means they're sort of ugly and unappetizing to look at, right?
Hey, it looks like you're fresh out of the shower, though.
I am.
Yeah, looking nice and clean, groomed. There you go.
Now, I'm looking at my teeth, and they're sort of white, but they're a little on the yellow side, and we've talked about that before. Yellow is my favorite color, but I don't think that I would like yellow teeth.
Uh-huh.
Yellow is a bright, cheery... Why is it people don't like yellow teeth? All right, enough of this silliness. One of the things that that happened is I was listening. I drive between world headquarters here in San Francisco and KSCO, and recently on
and most countries of the world are in support of his actions. However, there are some people who vigorously disagree. As pacifists, they want us to think about this issue very carefully, assume the dead roach position, study and understand why part of the world hates us. These pacifists believe that love and patient understanding will get us through this. I see it as a recipe for annihilation. If in our efforts to be humanitarian and help other nations, we may have harmed them, well, let's deal with that and fix it later, after we destroy the animals who are committed to destroying us. Now back to the station's comment line. Until about a year ago, we had Jim Hightower, a reasonable Democrat, on Comey. Suddenly, Hightower was replaced by Peter Werby, probably by the syndicator of both. We had no contract with Werby, but we kept him on for a year, and businesses did not want to sponsor him. Werby is an extreme leftist whose mission it is to tear down the opposition, and President Bush has been his favorite target for ridicule. In fact, many regular listeners complained about him and stopped tuning into our station. Well, Werby's comments may have played well with some, and may have been fair game in normal times, but these are not normal times. We're now engaged in a war. So, as of several weeks ago, Werby is no longer on Comey. Now he goes on the internet, states his case in third person. Is that cowardly or what? Spins it and screams foul and claims his free speech rights are violated. Is this nuts? Now, a number of angry listeners are using the station comment line to say some very ugly and menacing things. Others are sending angry emails, and few have signed their names. Please understand that we, the owners, have been the sponsors for Werby's show for a year, and we no longer choose to subsidize him. Bottom line, Werby has a right to his free speech, and we have a right to not have him on our station. Maybe these listeners could find a place for Werby on public-supported radio. His kind of rhetoric is welcomed by some in peacetime, but now we're in a battle for the very survival of our way of life, and we do not wish to be an active party to political divisiveness which will give aid to the enemy and weaken our country's resolve. Our men and women in the armed forces who are fighting this war for us and maybe dying for us must know that we are with them. We cannot withstand another Vietnam War fiasco when the country was bitterly divided and torn apart. The chilling truth is that this may be our only chance to get it right. We destroy the enemy or they destroy us, and make no mistake, this is their agenda. I believe our mission is clear. We must, as a country, come together. To paraphrase the words of Benjamin Franklin, spoken at the signing of the Declaration of Independence, we had better all hang together, or we will surely hang separately. Dear God, please bless America. This is Kay Swirling of KSCO KOMY.
Hey, Fatso. Yeah, you. If there was ever...
Wait a minute. That's something else. Anyhow, way to go, Ma. Boy, do I miss her. So, yeah, how much have things changed in 15-plus years since that commentary was written and delivered and was played several times over subsequent years? Yeah, here we are. And we're still embroiled in arguments about free speech, and there are still people who are enemies of free speech, who want to see opinions and ideas different from theirs suppressed and not be allowed to be presented on the air. Pretty sad. Okay, we're going to make this a sort of a, I guess it's a typical MZ Saturday special, right? If you want to call in and participate, comment on what I've presented already, and I have some other things to share that have happened this week. We'd like to hear from you. Phone number to get on the air live with us on KSCO, presumably your favorite radio station. It's mine for sure. 831-479-1080, 831-479-1080, or you can email me, mz@ksco.com. It is September 9th, and if you're listening between 10 a.m. and 12 noon Pacific time on Saturday, September 9th, you are hearing a live program. If you are listening at some other time, if you were to call 479-1080 in area 831, it'll either just ring, or if we're doing another live show, someone will answer and tell you, it isn't live what you're listening to. Anyhow, that's what technology is all about. Hey, Jason, I don't think we've opened the show officially, have we? With a
Good morning, a brighter day is here. Good morning, may we bring you cheer.
We've got time, we've got tunes, we've got time, tunes, and temperature.
Get up and go, it's today, you know, on KSCO Radio.
Hey, good morning, Monterey Bay and Silicon Valley. I think it's funny to call Silicon Valley Silicone Rubber Valley, but that's what most illiterate people do. But here we are, KSCO Saturday Special, hour number 1. We're going to be on the air right up until 12 noon. Hope you participate. You can do so through email to mz@ksco.com or...
Good morning, now stay right here on KSCO Radio.
Call 479-1080 if you want to participate with your live voice. Want to thank Scott Roth for emailing me, thanking me for playing my mother's commentary. He said it was good to hear her again. Thank you for playing that. Thank you, Scott. I'm sort of lucky to be here. I'm sort of lucky to be able to do the Saturday Special today because of something that happened to me sort of scary, really scary earlier this week. Not only am I lucky to be doing the Saturday special today, I mean, what nearly happened to me earlier this week could have removed me permanently from the Saturday special. Now, some people might think that would be a good thing, but I enjoy doing the Saturday special, and we get some pretty interesting programming, some pretty interesting content out through the Saturday special. A lot of it's pretty hang loose and informal. But I will relate the story now. I operate most of the time from KSCO North, which is in San Francisco. And spending, it's my favorite city in the world, and that I've been to, right? I've been to a lot of cities, but San Francisco, nothing comes close to San Francisco. It's just really a great place. So I like to hang out here, and I like to plot strategies for bringing independent traditional media back to San Francisco. I don't know if we're going to succeed in doing that, but one thing we know for sure is that if we don't try, we won't succeed for positive. So maybe this is all talk, and maybe none of it's going to happen, but I still enjoy spending time here. And I'm slowly developing my favorite hangouts and favorite restaurants to go to. And on Monday night, there's a restaurant I like to go to. It's sort of I wouldn't call it a high-end restaurant. It's a little pricey, but I've never had a bad meal there. I mean, the food, the quality is excellent, the creativity, the presentation, and every night of the week they have a different soup, but it's always the same. Like the Monday night soup, this Monday is always going to be there next Monday. And it happens to be red beans and rice soup with andouille sausage. Pretty good, huh? So, yes, I'm starting to drool, as you can see if you're watching us all over the microphone here. So last Monday, which I guess was Labor Day, right? I decided to take a walk, get some exercise, go up around the hill and down, and ended up there and sat down at the bar. I'm not a drinker. I don't drink much or any alcohol. A little tiny bit now and then if someone gives me a drink, but it's not something that it's not part of my life. But I sat at the bar because I didn't want to wait for a table at this nice restaurant. It used to be called Houston's. It has another Hellstone or something like that. Hillstone, that's what it is now. And it's on the Embarcadero. Great restaurant. Anyhow, I sat down at the bar, gave them my order for the soup, and almost immediately someone came up to my left side and said, "Here, I want to shake your hand." I said, "Okay, great. Why?" Some stranger. Never seen this person before. He said, "Well, I admire you for doing what you're doing." I said, "Well, what's that?" And he pointed to my hat. Okay, now I get it. I was wearing a Make America Great Again red hat that a kind listener to the Saturday special gave me. And I feel awful. I need to thank that person by name, but I forgot the person's name. Maybe they'll call in. In any case, I once remarked on the Saturday special, I said, "I see these great hats that Trump is wearing." It was during the election. He hadn't even been elected yet. And I wanted to have one of these hats, and I couldn't find anywhere locally in San Francisco or Santa Cruz to buy such a hat. They just weren't available. So this nice listener took pity on me and gave me hers. Wasn't that nice? So I've had my own Make America Great Again hat to wear, not to be in people's faces or anything like that. In fact, to be honest, I just grabbed the closest hat that there was on the way out. It might as well have been a KSCO hat. It's either a KSCO hat. We have all kinds of different colors of KSCO hats. But this happened to be a red Make America Great Again hat. And I wore that and didn't give it a second thought. But one person came up to me shortly after I sat down in this restaurant, shake my hand, to shake my hand to tell me he appreciates my statement by wearing that hat. Great, thank you. I thought to myself, that's sort of a surprise. I mean, if anybody if anybody's going to react to a hat, I think it would be a negative, a negative reaction in a place like San Francisco or even Santa Cruz for that matter, right? But no, so that was encouraging. And then the person on the other side of me, sitting a couple, empty bar stools away, came over and said, I'm a recent transplant to San Francisco from Georgia, and boy, the politics sure are different out here. It's very conservative where I am, but I'm fascinated by your what's the word? You're willing to wear that hat. You're a brave person to wear that hat around here. I said, well, it doesn't have anything to do with being brave. I mean, I just happened to grab this hat. She says, well, why do you even have a hat in a place like this? He was engaging me in conversation. I said, well, I like what the hat says. I think America sucks compared to what it used to be, and I'd like to have America be great again, instead of all torn apart and getting worse every day. And so he thought that was fascinating. I think he was, and he agrees with that, by the way, but he was fascinated by the fact that I wore this hat. Now, some of you might remember several months ago, I think it was just after the election or right maybe before, I had gone to a Chamber of Commerce function in Santa Cruz. And there was a Make America Great Again hat wearer there. And I was just as fascinated with him and his guts to wear that hat as these people were at this San Francisco restaurant with me. Isn't that funny? I mean, here I am, someone just as fascinated for me. And I guess I had forgotten that I had been fascinated by someone else back in Santa Cruz many months earlier. All right, so all that's great. Two people give me positive, high fives almost, because I'm wearing a Make America Great Again hat in a San Francisco restaurant. But across the horseshoe-shaped bar on the other side was a man who was seated with a woman, presumably his wife or a girlfriend, and he kept staring at me. Staring and glaring, but not saying or doing anything, just staring and glaring. And the guy from Georgia said to me, "Oh, that guy is really freaking out." I said, "What? The guy who's staring? Is that freaking out?" He says, "Yeah, he's freaking out because of your hat." I said, "Well, okay. I mean, he's been staring at me a lot, and every time my eyes fall on his, he's staring and glaring at me. But is that freaking out?" He says, "Trust me, it's freaking out." So, he was right, because 45 minutes later, after constant staring and glaring, I had finished my nice conversation with this gentleman from Georgia, and I had finished my delicious red beans and rice soup, and I had paid the bill, and I had gotten up to turn around and head out and go back home. Walk back home. And the guy gets up from across the bar and accosts me, comes after me, and starts yelling and screaming profanities. You bleeping out! You can imagine what he said. Every profanity in the book, totally unglued. How dare you have a hat like that in a place like this or a town like... You ought to be... I'm a U.S. veteran. I said, "Thank you for your service." And that that made him really mad, because I calmly responded to him. We learned this. I learned it from Roy Masters. I mean, first of all, the guy was half again my size, so there's no way in the world I'm gonna taunt him or make him angry or consciously. I thought I was being nice by responding to his statement to me that he was a veteran, by saying thank you for your service, which is what I say to all veterans, right? And no, I mean, it got worse, and he made such a scene, and it was so obnoxious and so loud. he came just within microns or angstrom units of touching me. So I thought he was going to kill me, just because I had worn a red "Make America Great Again" hat. And he went back to his chair. I was shaking, from my knees below, I was shaking. Nothing like that had ever happened to me before. The manager came up because he had heard a lot of yelling and screaming. And I said, geez, I was just verbally attacked by that guy. And there was the witness. There was a witness who was very close, who's the guy from Georgia. And he said, I'm an ex. When I was in Georgia, I was a police officer. I'm an ex-police officer, and that was an assault. I said, well, he didn't even touch me. It looked really close, like he was, and I was afraid that he was going to kill me. I really, really was. But it was certainly verbal assault, and he used some technical word that I forgot, or I could have pressed charges or something. But he got up after that and walked past me and the manager and this guy and went out the door and, hurled a few more profanities at me. And the manager said, manager heard at that time and said, you got to leave. You have to leave, sir. This is unacceptable. You can't behave like that in this restaurant. We can't sit still for that. Anyhow, that was the end of that, except that I was afraid to go out because the guy might have been, waiting for me, might have been lying in wait. So what's the point of all this? I have a hat that was given to me as a gift from a listener who heard me say, gee, I'd sure like to buy one of these hats, but I don't know where to buy them. I haven't seen them on sale anywhere. And so she gave it to me, and this was many months ago. But I can't wear that hat if I care about my safety. Just for the heck of it, tried to relax and put myself to sleep later on. I Googled search terms a physical attack for wearing Trump hat. And some stuff came up that was really unsettling. It made me feel like I was incredibly lucky to be alive or have my eyes not poked out or have brain damage. Because that's what have happened to some people who had the nerve to wear such a hat in some place where they encountered someone who was not happy at the sight of that hat. Real scary, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what else to say but that. There's nothing to argue with except do I dare go out in public in Santa Cruz or in San Francisco and expect that something like that might not happen? Again, I don't want to take the chance.
We ought to be getting video when that type of stuff happens. You should have your phone right there in the holster.
Well, yeah,
ready
I did have the phone. it happened so fast.
Yeah,
I didn't think of turning it on.
Well, it sounded
and
like
if I would have turned it on, the guy probably would have killed the phone and probably would have killed me.
Wow.
It's really, really scary. Anyhow, are the phones working? Because there's nobody calling, and it makes me nervous when no one's calling. 479-1080. That's in area 831. You can also email mz@ksco.com. Maybe people... Oh, I know people have emailed because I already read one email. So let me bring that back on.
We got
maybe that's not a topic to talk about, because what can you say? Yeah, it's unfortunate that if you care about your safety and welfare and well-being, you're not going to be looking for trouble.
We're getting a call here.
What a shame.
Should we put it on hot?
479-1080 or mz@ksco.com. It's hour number one of the KSCO Saturday Special with Jason Struby. And it's your favorite radio station, AM 1080 KSCO, unless that's too presumptuous a statement. Is KSCO your favorite radio station? I mean, we presume that it is because you're listening, right? But maybe it's not. Maybe we're not measuring up. Or maybe we're becoming relics. Maybe talk radio, which, when I first got into the business was really starting to come into its own in a big way in 1991. But now, I still am interested in talk radio, particularly thoughtful talk radio, not Jerry Springer type talk radio that I used to think was fun and cool and good radio and everything, and now I think it's bad radio. Right now,
So we got like 4 calls.
We do have 4 calls. Oh, okay. Hey, look at that. All right. Well, apparently Bill in Santa Cruz had a similar experience. Let's find out about it. Okay, Bill, you're on the air on KSCO. Thanks for calling.
Thank you, Michael. It just struck me when you told me that story because I've always felt real loose and free in Santa Cruz, been here for forever. And after Trump's inauguration, I wasn't wearing a hat like that or anything. And I was driving back to my workplace, and this gentleman I saw these people on the corner, and I was making a left-hand turn. Nobody was in the crosswalk. I made my turn. I went to my shop, and in the parking lot, here comes this person raging at me, and I'm kind of like dumbstruck, like you were. And I'm just like, oh. And I've worked in bars, and I know how to handle people, kind of. And he came at me, and he was all over the place. And he said, you almost hit me. And he said, you're a white pig, and it's basically my color. You're a white pig, and you're a racist.
What color was he, Bill? What color was he?
He was a person of color. He had a hood on, but a gray hoodie. But, I could tell that day there are people that were not Santa Cruz locals, not because of the color, but just in my area, they had been brought in for a demonstration.
Oh,
and
wow.
This is my assumption, but I was shocked. And then he said, what would you have done if you hit me? And I said, well, I would have got help. I would have stopped. He said, no, you wouldn't. He said, you pig, you white effing pig. And then I said, well, and he said, shut up. And it was like, okay. I just shut up and I let him go on and on. And it was like I was watching and I was thinking about what I was going to do. And not in your case, I was a little larger than him, but if he had a gun or a knife, that wouldn't have helped me. So, long story short, it's totally changed my thought process about, how to expose myself in different places. In this case, I wasn't wearing anything that had any certain, message or anything on it either. So everybody should be aware and be careful in a sense, but also try to keep freedom of speech alive.
Sad.
Like your station.
How sad.
Your station is so important. And,
Well, that's what I keep hearing, and we went through this discussion of the restaurant that closed, Ome, and we went through the Georgia being depressed and saying, what am I doing this for? Why do I need to? What? I'm not having any effect. And then rethinking because she decided that if she quits, then the enemies of free speech win, and we lose. And I pretty much come to that conclusion too, although I gotta say, because it takes so much to keep KSCO going, and that's you just take my word for it. And as proof of it, take a look around the country, and you won't find any other station that comes close to KSCO.
I believe that.
Primarily because of the origination of so much of its own programming, right? Even the big mega media owned company stations don't originate most of their content. They have branches of their corporate structure where they generate content, and then they force it through all of their owned and operated stations, right? Mm-hmm. But we are largely live and local. We have a couple of syndicated programs, 3 syndicated programs actually. We have Rush, we have Alex Jones, and we have George Norrie, and everything else on KSCO we produce ourselves and distribute ourselves, sometimes to other stations, mostly just to our own stations, KSCO and KOMY. And I got to tell you, folks, I'm asking myself what Georgia was asking herself, and I'm not looking for pity or anything. I'm just being straight with you. I'm saying, why do I do this? Well, I love the people that make KSCO. I consider them my family. And to stop doing KSCO and put those wonderful people out of work is just not acceptable. But the other side of that coin is really, what are we accomplishing? Yeah, I mean, it's nice to get all these compliments and this love fest, and I'm sure there'll be a bunch of callers, or I think so, maybe not. I think there'll be a bunch of callers who'll say, even though you're fishing for compliments, MZ, it really is a great station, and what would we do without KSCO? Well, that's a good question. So what? Nothing. People will go home and they'll belch and fart like they do now when they're listening to KSCO, right?
Well,
really?
Your station has increased my awareness immensely.
So what?
I can't tell you.
What have you done with that increased awareness? How has the world changed?
Well,
for the better.
I've connected with friends, and we've shared that information. And anytime you're sharing important information, you're making people aware of circumstances. Just like now, like our little town here. You're one of the few places where people can say, I heard that, and I wouldn't have seen that anywhere else. I mean, you would just be going along your daily life.
That's
going,
gratifying to know that there are people, pretty large numbers of local people who do listen to our station, and that is gratifying.
And I think people can contribute. I know I will. Some. I don't have a lot of money, but I think a little bit would be something that, I mean, if you can watch cable TV and do these different things, you can contribute a little bit to KSCO, which I intend on doing some because.
Well, you're very kind. Thank you.
It's valuable.
It probably sounds like I'm pushing for that. Pardon me. And
not necessarily.
If we do get donations, of course, anything that comes through. Online, I immediately try to answer and thank the people for just being really cool, because people don't have to do that. It's totally optional, and I really appreciate it. And when someone who's poor, sends us $1, and someone who's rich sends us $100, I love them both, but the $1 one means so much. That it was so much to some person who really can't afford even $1, but they send us $1. I mean, that's just so cool.
I wonder if you just, Michael, I wonder if you just don't hear enough from that silent majority that is listening and learning from your station. Maybe that would, I don't know how you're never going to hear about them probably, but the people that are really listening.
Well, one thing we learned recently is that people. A lot of people would say that they don't want to just contribute to the station because, to like the general fund. If they could earmark their donation to go to Charlie or Show or Flight 1080 or Georgia or something like that, and be used for that or in the name of that, then it would be great. And that's a great idea. We're going to do that. I'm going to talk to Jonty, our web guy, about coming up with some sort of a system to do that. In any case, thank you, Bill, for your call, and thanks for sharing your experience, okay? And,
thank you, Michael. I really appreciate you guys.
Do continue to listen to KSCO. Here's Janet in Santa Cruz about a hat experience. Hey, Janet, you're on.
Hi. I'm going to challenge that caller to his openness to freedom of speech because I see it differently.
The caller? Who just...
Yeah, that you just talked to. Wasn't he your first caller?
Yes.
Yeah. Your experience of wearing the hat and being quote unquote confronted by it makes me think that you might have experienced what a lot of black people feel. That you didn't know necessarily what you were wearing or that it was going to make someone angry. And they you can imagine I'm not black, but I can imagine that there's a lot of hate out there for people of color, and it seems to be increasing with this immigration issue, not just black, but other colors. And they walk into places not knowing that they're going to be hated, which brings me to what I really wanted to comment on was your mom's commentary.
Okay.
I didn't catch the date. It's okay, but I assume it. I get
It
the
was
impression
sometime in
pretty early.
2002. It was probably January, February 2002.
Yeah,
Shortly
that's what I
after
figured.
9/11.
9/11, right? And I wonder how she would feel now that we've been in these wars for so long and spent so much money on them and are so in debt and have not a lot to show for it. And the problem that she referred to trying to arrest at the time, we've spread across the globe, terrorism. And it makes me wonder, I don't know history at all, but I might go back and try and learn some things about pacifism and times that if pacifism has ever been allowed to work, because I don't think it...
I haven't heard it expressed that way, but that's an interesting thought.
Well, by nature, pacifism, because it's not rooted in conflict or contradiction, we're pacifists probably wouldn't put up a fight, and not to say that you allow people to get away with what they're doing, but you take a different tact. As a parent, I'll speak as a parent. When a child confronts, you can dig in and erupt, or you can step back and gather your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions and use it as a time to instruct and to learn yourself, probably. It's the old big stick. What's that saying? Walk softly, carry a big stick.
Yeah, speak softly, right.
Yeah. I'd be curious if your mom would have the same
All right,
opinion.
well, here's what I can tell you. Yeah, I wish, how I wish we could ask her now, but I remember several years before she passed and several years before she stopped doing commentaries that her opinion of the war changed. And she did a comment. I'll see if I can find it sometime. There's just so much in the way of content that we have. We have literally hundreds of commentaries from my mom that she did over the years, and people have said, "Why don't you bring them back or have it be a sponsorable thing? That some business, one or more businesses, can sponsor K's classic commentaries or something. We'll call them. I don't know." But yeah, I can tell you that she. Her attitude had changed because by the time the war was like 8 or 9 years old. Jeez. So, anyhow, thanks very much for calling 479-1080, Jan, and keep listening to the radio station. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Can I add two more things real quick? You might want to consider opening every Saturday special as one of her commentaries. That would be interesting. That was fun to hear this morning. The other thing is, your station is very special, like you said. And I don't know, maybe it's already in, but I can't think of the name of it, but the government, the federal government, gives protection to sites and buildings and... Oh,
historical landmarks? Well, we're already a local historical landmark. And I fought that tooth and nail, and I was voted against my wishes to be a local historical landmark.
Oh, that's
national historical landmarks get some sort of tax benefit, but we don't get anything like that. We're just more restricted than others. So.
I think
but that has nothing to do with the content. We're talking about the content of the radio station now and the free speech aspect and all that.
That's correct. But I thought maybe as a historical landmark, which I thought a while back you had said you're the last one in the country, so that might have...
We are the last. Billy Graff, who knows more about these things than I do, has said that we're the last operating RCA, built to be a radio station specification operating in the world. So anyhow,
See,
hey,
that's
we've got some
precious.
other calls. I want to thank you for calling, and please, call again and continue to listen to KSCO. Ken in Scotts Valley, you are on the air. Thanks for calling.
Hello, Michael. This is Ken.
Hi, Ken.
Say, I listened to your comments about your situation in San Francisco,
Yeah.
and the first thing that came to my mind was your mother. I met her at the stairs one day, and I've heard her commentaries, and no disrespect to you, but your mother would keep that hat on, because once you take it off, your voice has just been silenced.
Well, I know what you're saying, Ken, and that's exactly what I thought until two very, very smart people and friends who are close to me in my life turned me around. And what one of them said was, you don't have any kids, but you have a family, and that is the KSCO radio station. And if something happens to you because you're proud and insist on making your statement and not letting them, win over you and this and that, and something happens to you, something happens to KSCO, and something happens to those people. And that sort of hit home. It sort of hit home. And I said, much as I hate to say it, I couldn't argue with that. I would love, I'll just put it out right now. Some people might not like what I'm going to say. I would very much love for someone else to come and pick up KSCO who thinks like me, like I do, who, under everything is our freedom of speech and expression. And it's very important that we have civil discussion. And that's the closest thing that I can think of to solving serious problems facing our country. I would rather not own KSCO. I would rather go out and do something else with my life. It's been a nice run.
Yeah.
And I if there was somebody else who was rich or richer than I am, so that the deficit wouldn't bother him or her as much, or they could use it as a tax write-off or something, or better yet, be a good business person and turn it into a profit-making organization. I'd love to meet such a person, but boy, they're going to be vetted up and down, because I'm not going to. I don't want the place to fall into bad hands, but I'm tired of. I'd rather do something else. I honestly would. And
but
even if it's just vacation,
Exactly. But I think of Berkeley, how speakers get shut down. I think of how, the Tea Party, and you look at this across the country, and more we're seeing these tactics where intimidation and threats to silence people. And I have to also be empathetic to you. If I was in that bar, I would probably feel intimidated and threatened. And how far do you carry, your purpose? How far
well, just so you know, I didn't take the hat off ever, even when the guy was in my face. Okay? I certainly did not. Oh, I couldn't live with myself if I did that.
No.
And I certainly didn't take the hat off walking back home, 15, 20-minute walk at night, in the Embarcadero area. I certainly didn't do that and wouldn't do that. But when I related the story to people who, I have a lot of respect for their good judgment, they got me thinking that it's not a smart thing to do. And when I Googled, attacks, and found out about people who had brain damage because they, because they did something that was stupid. What I did unwittingly that day was stupid. And if I would have thought about it, would I have done? Absolutely, I would have done it. If I would have said, hey, in fact, I'm going to have some fun tweaking the liberals, Absolutely, I would have done that. But what happened was a big surprise to me. As I said, it was a surprise that the first two people congratulated me for wearing the hat. And then this other guy went off the rails. and he just went off totally. Was a nutcase.
Well, when you talk about make America great again, it is making America great again for us to have the freedom of speech and the freedom to wear that hat.
Right.
I mean, it's one thing.
So did you call to say that Kay would have kept the hat on?
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
did you all? And you're absolutely right. Of course she would have, and so did I. And thank you for calling so that I could make that clear. I didn't take the hat off because that asshole was going nuts.
Yeah.
I didn't take the hat off at all. I proudly wore it, but I decided afterwards that it's a smarter thing to do to not tempt fate.
Yeah.
Especially when it could result in physical damage or death to me. Okay? Because that would affect a lot of people who say they appreciate the free speech that KSCO presents. That's yet another reason why I want to find somebody out there who believes in free speech like I do, maybe is younger, who would like to take over the operation of the radio station. I would love that. But I'm not sure I'm going to find anybody.
I was expecting your story to relay back to the radio station, that somebody recognized you as the owner of KSCO, and that's, it was going to go from there. I didn't realize it was going to hat that became the issue.
So that has happened a number of times in San Francisco. What you just and every one of them was a positive experience. They say, "I love your station." Wow, how do you even know? Well, I used to live in Santa Cruz, or I have friends and they're avid KSCO listeners, and I drive around with a KSCO, what do you call it, magnetic signs on the side of the side doors of my car, and
so it pays to advertise.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, thanks for calling the Saturday Special, Ken, and I totally agree with you that Mom would definitely have kept the hat on. I also think she would advise me not to wear it again. That's what I think.
Yeah. Well, I just hope we are not silenced to the point where we can't have our viewpoints, and that's where we're headed if it continues.
You're right. Absolutely. Thanks for calling 479-1080. Here's a Daddy Bird in Salinas. You're on, Daddy Bird.
You want to hear a couple of my strategies?
Sure, but I think let's do it within a couple minutes because I think we got the news coming up here pretty quick.
Okay. If a nut comes up to me on the street, I ask him if he's on medication. I can generally tell. That changes the whole story. Then if he's on medication, I ask him who his doctor is or where he gets. You go to Natividad, you go to Langley Porter, you go to Stanford, and they start talking about their issues and they quit trying to be crazy. Okay.
Really? Wow. Boy, I don't know if I would have asked those questions, used that strategy with this guy at the restaurant. I think it would have made him even worse. Like you would think when you thank a veteran for his service, he would like it, but it made him even angrier.
Well, he sounds like he's off the edge. But anyway, you tell him that you're a retired Catholic priest. You tell him you're a retired rabbi or whatever you want to. That changes their tune. I've had guys go from yelling at me to apologizing because they thought I was a Catholic priest. There's a lot of ways you can defuse the situation. And then I know a guy that had a TV station over here, and he was a big-time drinker and all that. And he had a bodyguard he got out of the Louisiana State Prison, and he would hang around with him. And he was a mean guy. He was in prison for murder. And it got around pretty quickly that when he's down in Chinatown drinking it up and all that, and that guy's with him to leave him alone because, he was going to get a commission for the people that he knocked out. So there's a lot of things that you can do if you just think about it, but you can't. Worst thing you can do is just stand there and put up with it. And if they, also keep in mind if they you.
I didn't do that. I didn't. I guess I did do it because I didn't haul off and hit him.
No, you could give him the hat. You could have another hat and give him another hat. It says I'm a loudmouth liberal. It says here's your hat, or there's a lot of things you can do that can diffuse it, but it depends on how crazy. If they're that's in their delusional, you have to be. The doctor thing works real well because that's the one thing they can communicate with. You can talk to them about their medication, what kind of medication they're taking, and they like to talk about that. And
hey,
so
Daddy Bird, thanks for calling 479-1080. We appreciate the call. we're going to do the news, but Art, Ron, and Chad, who are on hold, we promise we'll get to you right after the news, so stay on hold. We want to hear from you. And, more about, we can have sort of an open mic thing. Freedom of speech is always one of my favorite topics here, and how we've been criticized quite a bit by not restricting speech. Anyhow, we're coming up on the top of the hour. KSCO Santa Cruz, Salinas, Monterey, San Jose. It's 11 a.m. Here is CBS News.
CBS News. I'm Bill Rakoff. Florida Governor Rick Scott says the time is nearly up for those fleeing Hurricane Irma.
If you're in an evacuation zone, you've got to go. You've got to get out now. Get to a safe place. This is a catastrophic storm their state has never seen.
This is Steve Futterman in Naples. This city hasn't turned into a ghost town quite yet, but it's heading in that direction. There are still some cars on the streets, but not many. Most stores are closed. Many have boarded up their store fronts. Right now, people who have decided to stay are getting ready for Hurricane Irma.
Irma currently a Category 3 storm. Winds knocked down to 125 miles an hour by contact with the Cuban coast, but it is expected to regain strength this afternoon as it heads toward Florida. Aside from the winds, CBS meteorologist David Parkinson most worried about the forecast storm surge, particularly along Florida's west coast.
The storm surge risk out of this storm is much worse. I mean, the senior scientists of the National Hurricane Center Surge Unit put out a tweet that said this is as life-threatening as it gets, and it is. 10 to 15-foot storm surge puts it on a Katrina and an Ike level for southwest Florida.
Many of those evacuating Irma have headed north. This is North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper.
Many of those fleeing from the direct path of the hurricane have come to North Carolina, and we want them to know that they are welcome here. But meanwhile, North Carolina is getting ready for any effects from Irma.
In the Caribbean, the U.S. Virgin Islands of St. John and St. Thomas took a direct hit from Irma. Governor Kenneth Mapp.
A little north of St. Thomas got, whacked harder from some of the more stronger winds, and we've got structural collapses there, and debris and boats, and just messed up. It's just bad.
Now those islands in the path for a glancing blow by Hurricane Jose over the next 12 to 24 hours. More than 76 wildfires burning across 9 western states, 21 of them in Montana, including one in Glacier National Park. Fire boss Rick Smith says crews are ready to help protect the park's iconic lodge.
We do get an ember shower. One of the main tools we'll use to protect the lodge that is so cherished that everyone loves is a large fire engine, a structure engine with a ladder, and it has the ability to reach up and actually spray the entire roof.
It's a bad season out west. So far this year's fires have scorched over 12,000 square miles. The search for survivors from yesterday's deadly earthquake in southern Mexico continues.
This is Adrienne Bard in Mexico City. The aftershocks are still coming very close together. There have been a few fairly large ones of more than magnitude 5. After a giant quake like this, aftershocks are a problem because they can cause debris to shift and harm rescue efforts.
They're looking for the dead as well. The overall death toll from the earthquake could rise to over 80, according to local officials. This is CBS News.
I'm Scott Tannen, founder of Boll & Branch, where you can get the world's most comfortable sheets for less than half of what you'd pay in the store. Our sheets are made from 100% organic cotton and get softer over time. Even 3 U.S. presidents have Boll & Branch sheets. Try them for 30 nights. If you don't love them, send them back for a full refund. Go to bollandbranch.com today for $50 off your first set of sheets, plus free shipping with promo code SLEEP. Spelled B-O-L-L and branch.com. That's bollandbranch.com, promo code SLEEP.
Does your basement or crawl space have damp, musty odors? Do you worry about indoor gases and pollutants? Everyday living generates moisture that can nourish mold and odors, even asthmatic triggers. Indoor pollutants linked to respiratory ailments, birth defects, and cancers can become trapped in your home. You can't buy health, but you can buy Wave's moisture control and air quality products. Wave Home Solutions for a dry, healthy home. Satisfaction guaranteed. Go to dryhome123.com. That's dryhome123.com.
The show must go on, and so it will tonight at Manchester Arena in the UK. CBS's Larry Miller.
Manchester Arena is holding its first event since May when a suicide bomber killed 22 people at an Ariana Grande show. At this pop concert will be some who survived the blast and also those close to people who didn't. This father lost a son.
The human species has to pick itself up and carry on.
The show's host, Russell Kane.
This show is typical of the British spirit, the way we hit back.
There'll be tight security at the event dubbed We Are Manchester, with mental health professionals ready should it prove too emotional for some. Larry Miller, CBS News, London.
School districts across Illinois will soon face new requirements to aid breastfeeding students. That law that goes into effect in January requiring public schools to provide a room other than a bathroom with an electrical outlet for nursing mothers. Students must also have access to a fridge to store their milk and can't be penalized for time away from academics. Bill Rakoff, CBS News.
I'm Scott Tannen, founder of Boll & Branch, where you can get the world's most comfortable sheets for less than half of what you'd pay in the store. Our sheets are made from 100% organic cotton and get softer over time. Even 3 U.S. presidents have Boll & Branch sheets. Try them for 30 nights. If you don't love them, send them back for a full refund. Go to bollandbranch.com today for $50 off your first set of sheets, plus free shipping with promo code SLEEP. Spelled B-O-L-L and branch.com. That's bollandbranch.com, promo code SLEEP.
Attention all authors. Page Publishing is looking for authors. Have you written a book and want to get it published? Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, Apple iTunes, and other outlets. They handle all aspects of the publishing process for you. Printing, cover art, publicity, copyright, and editing. Call 800-501-3689 now for your free author submission kit. That's 800-501-3689 for your free author submission kit. Again, 800-501-3689.
It must be, it has to be, with that big sound it's gotta be KSCO.
You're listening to KSCO, serving Moss Landing, Marina, and Piscines.
Copyright and editing. Call 800-501-3689 now for your free author submission kit. That's 800-501-3689 for your...
Hey, Jason, I'm hearing other things.
Good morning, you're listening to AM 1080 KSCO Santa Cruz. It's 11:08, a beautiful Saturday morning. Hope everyone's having a great day. I'm Jason Strube. It's time for your weather and traffic. Pretty quiet out there so far this morning. Highways 117, 101, running at the limit across the board on the Central Coast. Quick look at the CHP traffic board. We got an animal in the roadway 101 at the 156 and a collision 152 at Canada Road. Patchy drizzle should be clearing up here shortly. We'll have a high near 71. Tomorrow we'll have a high near 80 degrees in Santa Cruz. 11:08. Don't forget to come down to the station. Get your longevity products for your health needs. Stocked up to the brim with BTT, Healthy, Star Packs, and much more. Dave in the cave till 2. If you can't make it by then, I will be here after that and tomorrow as well. Don't miss out. 2300 Portola Drive. Just past 11:08. It's time for hour 2 of this Saturday special, and we are streaming live on YouTube at the KSCO Global channel. Please subscribe. Here's MZ.
I want to thank Carl Seigman for writing an email saying broadcasters responsible for what they air. We're going to open the second hour with that, but let's start the jingle first, Jason, and we'll take it from there. Okay. No, not that. You know, this hour 2 jingle, you know. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Oh, hello, darling. I hate to hang up on you, but I'm sorry, baby, but I have to go. It's time for that wonderful record show. I'd love to visit, but you'll have to call back. KSCO has the inside track.
Jason, a technical thing. You might want to ping that second one again. I don't know what happened.
Okay.
But stay tuned. We got another hour coming up.
I'm sorry, baby, but I really gotta go to KSCO Radio. Bye.
Okay, as promised, a listener named Carl Seigman has sent an email 15 minutes ago. Broadcasters responsible for what they air. MZ, even you probably agree that freedom of speech is not absolute and does not allow people to shout fire in a crowded theater. The fact that you would not have a clue of how wearing a Trump hat in San Francisco would probably incite a nut speaks to your oblivion. Many right-thinking, respectful people find the dog whistle message offensive. The fact that you air Alex Jones and defend the white supremacy racism of Georgia speaks to your disrespect for truth and willingness to broadcast hate speech. Let her go if she is getting tired of all of the resistance to her hate. It will hopefully continue and get worse as you broadcast this divisive hate speech. But you are the guy who makes it possible. Irresponsible broadcasters who air hate are the problem. And that's signed Carl Seigman.
Wow.
Santa Cruz. Okay, well, I thank Carl for writing that, and I'm serious. I'm not being funny here. I think Carl beautifully stated what many people think, and I seriously appreciate that. Now, that said, I'm going to tell you why I appreciate it. He mentioned Alex Jones. I mentioned Alex Jones. Pardon me. Alex Jones and his operation of independent journalists or independent media people or whatever you want to call them. Okay. I believe they upload a dozen or 15 or 20 YouTube videos a day. I don't know that for sure, but that's what I believe. And Alex is on one or two of them, and these, roving reporter types are on the other.
And now they got 2 brand new shows, by the way, daily shows.
And I'm fascinated by the videos that these guys put up, because they like to go to Trump anti-Trump rallies that have a lot of signs that say impeach Trump, and they walk up to them and they say calmly, they're not arguing, they're not being argumentative or talking down to them or anything. They're saying, please come and talk to us about why Trump should be impeached. And they get the same kind of reaction that I did with the hat at the restaurant. Pardon me, I don't have a cough button. I'm going to need to put one of those in. People say, for damn, to clear your throat with a microphone off, damn it. People are absolutely right. I should do that, but maybe I can do the volume. Hey, that works. It's not as good as a cough button, but it works. All right. So I guess I should turn this thing, the video around so you can see me.
That'd be good.
All right, what do you think about Carl Seigman's? He makes some interesting points. I will always, I will never accept that KSCO promotes hate speech. I'm sorry, we're going to have to agree to disagree with that statement, Carl. I think a lot of people consider things that disagree with their thoughts to be hate speech, and that's unfortunate. But anyhow, I was saying that these Alex Jones people, they try to have a reasonable discussion with these loons, and I call them loons only not for what they believe, but for not being willing to discuss it. Now, I am going to publicly thank Carl Seigman, and I am not being facetious here, because he's the first person that I've encountered who is willing to put out, in well thought out. I don't agree with much of what he says, but I appreciate the fact that he took the time to write it, and he's answered. I wish he would answer the question about why Trump should be impeached, and I would certainly, invite him to call 479-1080, but maybe he's not comfortable doing that. Some people just would rather write something than talk something, and I can understand and respect that too. Anyhow, thanks to Carl Seigman, who points out that I'm the guy who makes it possible, and that he believes I'm an irresponsible broadcaster who airs hate speech, and that's the problem. Okay, maybe he's right. Maybe he's right. I don't agree that we broadcast hate speech. I really don't. I guess the people who like KSCO are going to say, of course we don't broadcast hate speech. And the people who don't like KSCO are going to say, of course, you're mostly hate speech, from Rush Limbaugh even, right? So, whatever. Can't win. But I do think that if something happens to KSCO and it goes away because I get tired or someone hurts me or kills me and there's nobody else to keep the place alive, then it'll go away. And I think that would be sad. But people would get over it, I think. Or maybe someone else would start some other sort of free speech based medium. Okay, 479-1080, the phone number to call. Let's go back to the phones now. Take next. Well, that would be Art and Salinas about a 9/11 retrospect. Art, you're on. Thanks for waiting.
Yeah, a couple things while I was on hold I was thinking about. I guess I might not ought to wear my throwback O.J. Simpson jersey to the Niners game after your story, but I'll put that aside. You got people coming up here. You got people coming up the new year, coming up with this recreational pot. When I look at Santa Cruz as quality, it's always been quality for that type of weed, and they might want to rent your airwaves. And that's going to be some money coming in there because that's going to be big business, and they can get that out there recreationally. I think you're going to be able to take advantage of that. Also, to bring the ratings up, I always like listening.
Are you talking about us?
Yeah, I think somebody's going to want to rent some time across the airwaves with this new allowance.
I'm not sure. We're going to have to find out about that. We are not that I would want to anyhow, but I know that we are prevented from taking ads for Cancerettes. That went out in 1970, if I'm not mistaken. So if we're not allowed to accept money for cigarette advertising, do you think we would be allowed to accept advertising for smoking pot?
I think for the sell of it,
Okay.
Yeah, I'm hoping. And also another thing, Dr. Bill Wattenberg, a friend of yours, a good radio guy, he's always somebody you can talk to about maybe further in the station, keep it going. He's been around the business a long time. Always like to see him on guest spots on your show. Sure. He's good. As for the 9/11 thing, I just put myself in the position, try to not actually, but thinking like the ones who orchestrated all that back into 2001, 2009/11, what they think when the day comes around, how their thoughts are, because America usually, after a victory of any type, promotes it, pats itself on the back, acknowledges it, has History Day, calls it an anniversary. So I'm just wondering how those folks look at us. How can we take a stand against them because they're still out there? We don't know who they are.
I don't know. You've asked a question that's too hard for my little pea brain to even.
Okay, let me change the subject then again. I'm going to read off a list here, and this is coyote, rabbit, deer, pig, possum, bird, cat, dog, bobcat, and raccoon. And that's just the things that I've seen laying on the dead road coming in from Watsonville. I drive from Salinas, so when I hit Watsonville, dropping down there Salinas Road into Watsonville, it's unbelievable the amount of roadkill that I'm seeing in that area. Maybe you get some callers to come in and say, what's going on? Full moon? Is it eclipse? Is it what the hell's going on? There's just so much dead animals on the road. It's crazy.
Okay, well, thank you for bringing that up. Obviously, they're not taking enough of the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. I'm only kidding. Okay, thanks for calling 479-1080. That was Art in Salinas with a 9/11 retrospect. Our good friend Ron in Carmel, who wants to talk about hat. Go ahead, Ron.
It was really good to hear your mom's voice and her logic at the start of the show.
Yeah. Maybe that's a great idea for us to do, begin every Saturday special. Boy, it'll keep us going for another umpteen years.
I'd vote for that.
Yeah.
When you mentioned that this guy was a veteran, I don't know if anybody covered earlier the possibility that he has PTSD.
Yeah.
And
that went through my mind.
And Daddy Bird, when he said, what kind of medications are you on, it's possible that his being... I'm a Vietnam vet. I don't believe I've got PTSD. But there are people who have been in war zones, and they could be on medicine, and this could have been a reaction not only to you visually, but his condition from war. Okay.
Hey, that would make a lot of sense.
And then the only other thing that
his
I was
behavior
thinking
sure
of,
didn't. So
I'm doing corporate returns today, and I'm thinking like, hey, you know what? Maybe you should take a lesson from public broadcasting and become a tax exempt, and then ask the government for money as well as of your listening audience for money, and then when they would send the money in, they would get a tax deduction for the contributions to your newfound.
That's an interesting point. It's been suggested before, but coming from you, a tax guy, I should take that very seriously, and thank you for stressing that.
Thanks for
people,
the show.
Ron, before you leave,
yeah.
I guess the reason to do that would be to allow people who don't own businesses who make a contribution to KSCO to be able to deduct that from their taxes. People who do own businesses and have the business, pay with a business check. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're the tax guy. Can already deduct anything that they send to KSCO as long as they call it advertising, right?
Well, it has to come under Code Section 162, so it's got to be a business-related expense. Okay.
Sure. And so, isn't advertising 100% deductible? It's not like, entertainment, which I believe is 50% deductible.
Yeah, if it could be construed to be advertising, then see, because there's so many different answers for possibly the same question, depending upon what. I can't give you 100% sure, but I'd say, in general, your advertising expenses are deductible.
Right.
So they would. But in this case, what I'm thinking is you go nationwide as far as your broadcasting, and you draw from the entire nation, not just from the people in the San Francisco area and the Monterey and San Diego.
I'm going to look into that. If there's anybody listening who knows more about how to set up such a tax entity, please email me, mz@ksco.com, because that could be exactly what I'm looking for. Because if something were to happen to me, I guarantee you right now there's no KSCO. It's gone.
Yeah, and there is a guy in Carmel, Indiana, who does that type of work, not Carmel, California. So I may send you an email on that.
Great. Okay, thank you, Ron. Really appreciate it. Nice hearing from you. Here comes Steve and PG. Then we're going to go to David in San Francisco.
Any chance we could get a view of out your window there if you get a chance?
Sure.
With the ZBS camera.
Are both cameras working?
Yeah, we're streaming both.
Okay, well, here. I'm going to I'm going to put, who's on now? Who? Oh, Steve and PG about free speech. Steve, what about it? What about free speech?
Well, I was just going to give you an attaboy. How many radio stations will, I'll bet if Carl called Rosie, he better have his ducks in a row because she'd ask him some serious questions. But the main thing I called you about is how many of these anti-fire black box guys run around on their own, not being in a giant mob or a bunch of screaming people. How many of them, let's say if you were walking down the street of San Francisco and you saw some guy with a black mask on waving a black flag on his own, you don't see any of those guys. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. So it's all organized is what you're saying, right?
Exactly. And you wear a Trump hat, you're a reasonable person, you try to talk to the guy while you're the bad guy.
That wasn't the restaurant thing. It was just me and that one guy, who was off the rails.
Who said he was a vet. You know what I mean?
Right, and someone have said that, yeah. And it's funny because most vets would applaud a guy wearing a Trump hat. I
would.
Yeah.
If I saw this one last point. If I saw a guy after a big riot, the first thing they do is take all their gear off and try to blend into the countryside. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You don't see them just walking away from the riot, beating up on all these people in their gear.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because somebody like me, I know you don't propagate violence, but I just ask them to take their hat off. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
That's so just give yourself
just out
a
of
pat
respect.
on the back.
So if you were to ask me, if you would have asked me to take my hat off at that restaurant, maybe I shouldn't have been wearing a hat at all at a restaurant. but no one in the restaurant asked me to take my hat off, sir. It wasn't that fancy a restaurant, I guess. But if you would have been there and asked me to take the hat off, I don't think I would have.
If you were wearing a mask just getting back from a riot, I would have.
Oh.
You understand what I'm trying to say?
Oh.
The other guys don't wear their, I'm a mob-related,
right.
knucklehead.
Okay.
You know what I mean? All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Steve. All right, Jason, I don't know if you put that out on the air, if it was just to me in my ear on the back hall.
Yeah, I was on the air.
But yeah, I'm going to take the stand iPhone and point it outside, and I'm going to leave the one that's the other one here so that people can see my ugly face.
Sounds good.
If they
I'll pick up the slack here while you're doing that.
All right, good. And then David in San Francisco, my neighbor somewhere here, I don't know how far away he is, has some general thoughts. Just a sec here.
No problem. You're listening to this. You're listening to the Saturday Special on KSCO Santa Cruz. You can pick us up on KSCO.com. You can pick us up on 104.1 here in Santa Cruz, 107.9 in San Jose, 95.7 FM in Salinas, Watsonville. We're also, of course, on AM 1340 out of La Selva Beach, and you can even pick that one up on 1340KOMY.com. We've got a full board here. Actually, we do have one open line if you want to call in and talk to MZ. It's 831-479-1080. We've got Mike, Sean, Liz, David, Bob, all waiting. Thank you all for being patient. Looks like MZ will be back here shortly, and we're currently streaming on YouTube as well. And if you get a chance to check that out, I'll definitely advise, because MZ is currently out on his deck serving us a beautiful video feed live of the San Francisco Bay from a beautiful balcony out there. I'm looking at a ship right now. Again, that's YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel as well. That's KSCO Global. Just Google search there for the KSCO Global channel. That's YouTube, KSCO Global. Give us a subscription. We do appreciate it, and that way you can check out the live feed. It sounds like we've got our fearless leader back on board. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, but I put down my glasses somewhere, and I can't find them now. Here, do another tap dance till I find them.
Yep. So we're tap dancing here on AM 1080. Hope everyone's having a great Saturday out there. It's a beautiful day here in Santa Cruz. Again, if you want to call in, share your thoughts. Today we're talking about Trump hats. We're talking about KSCO funding. We're talking about free speech. All kinds of good stuff. If you have something you want to share with us, again, that's 479-1080. Dave Michaels. I want to give a shout out for the Longevity Products. Dave Michaels in the cave right now till 2 p.m. You could come down and see him. He's hooking up great deals on fantastic health products. If you can't make it before 2, that's okay. I got you covered. I'll be here today and tomorrow all day. Again, you're listening to the Saturday Special, and we are tap dancing here. Yeah, what happened?
I depend on we have the 2 iPhones to give us 2 video pictures, right? And,
right.
One of them just died because I connected the.
Okay.
Okay, and so I lost the internet connection, but now I'm going to have to connect to the Comcast that says that I've used 100,000 times more than I'm allowed to, so that means someone else has hacked me.
Wow.
But so now I'm going to use 105,000 more than I'm supposed to because I have to be able to control the phone lines. Okay. All
right, I'm going to try to ping
we have
the
Mike in
ZBS
Watsonville,
one.
Sean in Live Oak, Liz in Watsonville, David in San Francisco, our next caller, and don't forget our good friend Bon in Incline Village. But here's David. Hey, David, you're on the KSCO Saturday Special.
Hey, how are you, Michael?
Good. Are you going to the? Are you going to the farmers market at the ferry building? You know where all the ferries are. Afterwards.
Well, you're not calling Gandhi a ferry, are you?
No, just where all the ferries are. You know, the ferries that transport people across the bay.
Oh, okay. I was going to say.
Were you thinking I was saying something else?
Sure did. Yeah, you get a lot of trouble doing that. Hey, well, you know, I was interested in a couple of different topics, but somebody made a side comment about black bloc or these, people dressed in black. Up here in San Francisco, we recognize that anybody that comes into a rally or demonstration dressed in black with a black face mask and, carrying big sticks, those have got to be cops and provocateurs. And 9 out of 10 times you can prove it in the long run. And in fact, I think in Genoa in 1991, the cops were dumb enough to be dressed in their entire black regalia, but standing on the front steps of the police station just before they left. And so they did a group photo of all of the black blocs that ripped apart Genoa, Italy, and had all of the, brand new alternative media people arrested while opposing the G8 summit. And so Black Bloc, it's real easy to see that what happened in San Francisco and all of this Antifa business, these guys are hired guns, and it's Trump's trying to make his Reichstag fire, and it's just not working out for him.
Wait a minute. You think that Trump or the Trump forces, pro-Trump forces, are hiring the same people or hiring people, just like the George Soros people are proven to, George Soros and his ilk are proven to have funded all of this, anti-Trump stuff.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because somebody was saying that anarchists had a flag. And anybody that knows the very definition of as an anarchist is they're opposed to flags. So, these guys are, I think you're listening to Rush Limbaugh too much. The big lie is still out there that the cops are not hiring provocateurs, or the CIA or the big banks or whoever it is aren't sending these people in there to bust their own front window in order to make sure that they get more cop money. It's the name of the game is every time they pull this junk, the cops make more money, right? Every time.
Yeah.
And they rip apart civil rights because, when the emperor has no clothes, they got to do a quick diversion to make sure that nobody figures it out. So it's so phony and whatnot. I heard also you were talking about hemp, though, or, cannabis and what are the medical clubs?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you look at making the primo blends and all of this sort of thing for medicinal use, there's also the Primo blends for making oil, or the Primo blends for making fine fiber, or the blend for making burlap bags. Or
May I ask you a personal question, David,
Sure.
in San Francisco? Are you in that business?
No, it's
You seem
just
to
that
know so much about it.
Well, I was into agriculture as much as I was into medicine, and
You were?
if you, for example, a lot of people don't realize it, but George Washington Carver, the guy that invented 400 things from the peanut and 600 things from the soybean, he didn't just invent peanut butter. He invented varnishes. He invented printing ink. He invented high quality oil. He created scummy oil that you could just work on an axle or something like that, a wheelbarrow axle. He invented like plastic that would biodegrade in a matter of hours. He invented plastics that would last for 300 years. So something just like with the inventions of George Washington Carver, we could create so many jobs in America. And he invented
Let's do it.
all. Well, I know.
Does Trump know about this?
Well, see if you can find these formulas, because the big oil, big money have decided years ago to outlaw hemp because it's such a good local crop for making local money. And the idea, they intentionally got us locked into oil, making plastic bags, oil making pharmaceuticals, oil making, our transportation needs, oil making all the plastics that we're wrapping around all of the appliances that we've got. But if we could invent, or if George Washington Carver almost 100 years ago invented plastics that would break apart when you put water on them, they would hold together for 10 years without putting water on them. As soon as you did, they'd start to fall apart. Now, if we had landfills that were creating horrible problems with all our landfills, but if we had plastics that would dissipate like that, they've known that for 100 years.
I know somebody I have a good friend who invested in a company that does that. Unfortunately, the good friend passed away to cancer recently, but I'm going to contact his children.
Sure.
Yeah, and find out more, because I've been meaning to get that. We need to do a program about that. David, always great to hear from you. Maybe I'll see your... What?
Well, part of the reason why George Washington Carver came up with all those inventions, and he didn't patent them in his name, he did them all public domain because he wanted people to get rolling with them. And he knew... Well, it was being black he was born a slave, so his patents would be stolen like that anyway. So if he put them in public domain, then he would at least get popular acclaim for them. But the idea that if you were trapped by King Cotton and you were doing the rent 40 acres and a mule or whatever, sharecropping, and the owners of the land that were renting to you were going to always keep you starving. Well, Carver invented things like printer's ink, and for a quarter acre of soybeans, you could make enough printer's ink to pay for the other 39 3/4 acres. And and printer's ink was high dollar at the time, and high machine oil would be high dollar at the time. Various things, and so he invented it specifically so that people could get away from sharecropping economics. And if you were making local high-quality oil, no competition from China was going to make it easier to get 6,000 miles than you could deliver it down the block. And the idea that hemp is the same way. And unfortunately, we're running into this thing where the people that want the Primo bud don't want oil hemp out there in the fields. They don't want, fiber hemp out there in the fields. And
David, listen. I appreciate what you're saying, but we can't afford to give any more time to that subject. I hope
there's jobs out there.
Thank you for bringing it up. We're talking about it too much. We need to make a whole show to that. Okay, and I'd love to do that. Thank you. That was David in San Francisco. Here's Liz in Watsonville about a hat. Go ahead, Liz.
Hi, Michael. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
Well, I just wanted to make a comment on, I didn't hear the whole story, but I understand that you were in San Francisco wearing a Trump hat and somebody attacked you. And I say, you know, good for you that you wore it, whether you realize that's what you were wearing or not. It's part of, like, breathing for you, because you're not thinking, you know, negatively. You're not thinking like some of these people that are all against.
All right. Well, let me ask you something, Liz.
Yes.
After the show ends in, 20 minutes, I was going to go and walk. It's like a 25-minute walk down to the ferry building, where they have a really good the Saturday farmers market. And I was going to use a KSCO hat for that. But are you saying maybe I should wear the Trump hat and cause possible problems for myself?
That is not what I'm saying. A prudent person foresees danger and they take precautions.
Yes.
A simpleton goes blindly on and suffers the consequences.
Yes.
However, what I'm saying is that at what point do we back off and can't voice our opinions? It's like saying, you know, I don't like you because you're not doing the things the way that I like for you to do them. You know, we need to respect each other's values and beliefs, and we need to stand on what we believe. I am not moved by what I believe. I stand. You know, all we have really, I mean, you can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have integrity and you don't have character and your worth, and you go to whatever else somebody else is telling you to, or choosing to go with them for fear.
Well,
you know, we have to be willing not to.
And for as long as I've known the meaning of the word, it has been the most important word in my vocabulary. Now, he hasn't called, and I haven't looked at my email again, but Carl Simon,
Michael, Michael, let me say this, please, that I'm not attacking you or coming down on you. I'm saying this for the listeners.
I know.
I'm saying this for behalf of the listeners to hear.
Okay, good. I appreciate that.
Yes. I'm saying this so that people will see that, you know what, it's not weapons, it's not guns, it's not even like that crazy guy in North Korea. It's the people's hearts. It's the evil intentions of the people. It's their selfish desires. It's because it's all about me. It's what I want. And if you don't do it the way I want, then I'm going to attack you. So there needs to be a balance.
The guy, Carl Seigman, who, again, I appreciate they took the time to write, and I got to go back and see if he's written anything else. He certainly hasn't called in, but maybe he's tried, and the lines are jammed, which they are. But I would say to him, integrity is the most important word in my vocabulary, always has been, always will be. But he might think that I don't have integrity because I put programs on like Rush, like Georgia, like Alex Jones. I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but I'm sure that's what a lot of people out there think about me. And you ask them about Michael Zwirly and integrity, they'll say, "Oh no, that guy, that's the last thing he is have integrity," because he puts on hateful people on the radio.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know much about your radio. I don't know all this politic things. But for me, the way I see it is that, you know, if you're going to hang around with that people, you know, what are people going to think about you? You
got it.
Your actions speak louder than your words. So if that's what you're entertaining and that's what you're doing and that's your belief, then that's who you are.
I'm just being me, and being me, being the steward of a publicly of a radio station license. I choose to use that license to provide a forum for anybody who chooses to use it. Anyhow, thank you, Liz, for calling 479-1080. Here's Sean in Live Oak. Hi, Sean, you're on.
Oh, hi there, and I'm sort of making a comment on the guy that emailed you and your radio station in general.
Uh-huh.
And I used to be a KXA listener with Hal Ginsberg.
Okay.
And looking back on him, I called into his show quite often, and I would categorize him as left-wing hate radio. And I remember back in May, and I was calling into his show after the Trump rally in San Jose got stormed by the rioters.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And what I was just simply dumbfounded by was Hal's response. And, it seems like he's completely didn't have a concept of the moral high ground. He didn't have the concept of bad optics. And when I brought up the fact that the woman was egged, he thought that she deserved it.
Uh-huh. Well,
So
he like everybody else has a right to his opinion. I don't, and I have a right to mine. And there are people who I encourage people who disagree with me and who disagree with KSCO hosts to call KSCO and use their free speech on KSCO. But a lot of them don't want to, and I don't understand why. They want to tell me that I'm bad because I don't muzzle what they consider to be hate speech.
Well, I call into George's program quite a bit, and I actually enjoy talking to her. And I'm just using her as a counterpoint to talking to Hell's program, and I talk to him quite a bit, and it's just like...
Is that program still on? I know he sold the station, and I think he went online only, but I don't know the current status of that. Do you?
He was online for a while, then he went off, and I think he's trying to come back online, but I haven't tried calling into him because after that thing with the Trump speech, what happened at the Trump rally, I don't want to waste my time with someone that doesn't even understand the concept of maintaining a moral high ground or bad optics.
Okay. Well, yeah, thanks for calling KSCO, and thanks for listening, and and thanks for participating.
Okay,
we
bye.
Appreciate it. Bye-bye. That was Sean. Here comes Mike in Watsonville. Hi, Mike.
Hey, how's it going, Michael? Hey, a couple of questions. Do you still have cases of your mom's books down at the shop down there?
Yeah, lots of them, and I haven't been pushing them because someday they're going to be incredibly valuable and worth a fortune.
Well,
so I consider them a great investment. However, we still will be happy to sell them, and I still think they make great gifts.
Yeah, my doctor wants me to get him some for his kids. But here's my question. I don't think you're aggressive enough in getting more funding into the station by having people sponsor. I mean, what about even sponsoring your mom's commentaries? I mean, is there, things you could do like that by letting someone...
Let me explain something. Let me explain something. Mike, there's... I can't think of a more unpleasant line of work than begging someone to buy advertising from you.
Yeah.
So I just don't do it. And I don't blame people for not wanting to do it because it's sickening, disgusting, horrible work. And it's unpleasant. Okay? And so I don't want to be in people's faces on the air. On the other hand, it's done all the time quite successfully by PBS and NPR stations. So I think we can remind people, we continue to have good content on KSCO and strive to have better content all the time. But I think you're right that we haven't been aggressive enough. We certainly haven't been aggressive enough in terms of the sales effort. We have a great sales guy working with us for a quarter of a century, Michael Olson. He's fantastic. I'd kill to have 10 more Michael Olsons working for us, and we'd be billing 10 times the amount of money that we bill, and KSCO would be an insanely profitable station instead of an insanely unprofitable station that needs to be propped up with lots of money from another business that I have. That's why I'm tired of it. I'm tired of trying to find salespeople who expect to be who expect to be paid for trying to sell. I require this much. This is you need to guarantee me a salary $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 a month. Fine, we'll do that. Now, what are you going to guarantee back? Well, all I could say is that I'll give you the best I have to give. And so let me get this straight. I have to pay you $5,000 a month, but even if you don't sell even $1 worth of advertising, well, yes. Okay. No, thank you. So we don't have much of a sales effort here.
I get it. But you said a while ago that you appreciated the people that gave in a little bit that didn't have a lot, even the people that gave a lot, they have a lot. So my question is there possibilities to sponsor what your mom says? A lot of people can't verbally say and don't even, to be honest, have the wisdom your mother had, but can you sponsor a commentary? I mean, there's creative ways you could...
What would be a good... Let's come up with that number right now. Would $25 per minute of commentary be fair?
Yeah, exactly. So
a 3-minute commentary would be $75, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, fine,
so,
done.
So
let's do it. We'll do that all day long, and if enough people who respect Kay and her memory would be willing to do that, then our financial problems are solved, because we have so many Kay's commentaries. Let's see what happens. I just put it out.
Okay,
it's a reasonable number.
How do people? Is there an archive
MZ at KSCO.com.
Okay.
And that's
okay.
That, okay.
So
just email me if you want to do that. I don't expect. I expect that I'll get a bunch of people saying, "Oh, that's a great idea," but I don't have any money. You know.
Well, but are the commentaries in the books in verbal too, or is it different?
Yeah, they are. Sure, that's where they came from. They were verbal first, and then so many people said to Kay, "You should put those commentaries into a book." So we had them.
And can someone pick out a commentary out of the book and work with your station and sponsor that? Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, you're sold for this guy, and I'll be calling your station.
What a guy. Hey, thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. There goes Mike in Salinas. Mike in Watsonville. So let's see here. Who's next? I know what I'll do. I'll let the computer decide. I'll press the Take Next button. And it's Colonel Terry, who says Nazis are not funny. And I'll bet everybody would agree with you on that, Colonel Terry.
Unfortunately, some of the extreme right wing, obviously demonstrated by some of the people at Charlottesville and some of the people who showed up in San Francisco, and the people wearing swastikas and black and shouting Nazi slogans. That is not funny, MZ. That is not even, I think, tolerable.
Fine. Okay, so you want to curtail that free speech, yeah?
Okay.
You want to make that equivalent to yelling fire in a crowded theater, yes?
Yes, but it's not tolerable on recognition by our government, is what I'm suggesting. And Trump, I think, did an adequate job of condemning it in all of his comments. Okay. And he was misrepresented by the anti-Trump media to the extreme. However, we have got. I think broadcasts like yours should also make a stronger condemnation of it, and have more analysis that could also be done entertaining. And the analysis is, we have, ladies and gentlemen, some serious threats to our civilization. We have threats like the extreme political solutions. We have threats like massive immigration from the third world that is overproducing children for the last 50 years and wants to bring millions of them here at our expense in our school systems and so on.
Colonel Terry, I believe there are people within our listening range that would characterize your statement a moment ago as a very racist statement.
It's not racist, it's realistic.
I'm not. I don't, but I think there are people.
And well, I'll defend it, and I'll be happy to debate it in its focused way.
Okay.
But on the air or elsewhere. The realities are we have a planet that's up to 7 billion people going to 9, and I heard a lunatic, not that all professors at UCSC are lunatic, but I heard a lunatic who happens to be a UCSC professor say we should have no problem of going to 11 billion people on the planet. We don't have the resources to feed and provide effectively for 5 billion.
That's exactly right.
Okay? There's left-wing loony and there's right-wing ridiculous in my view. I think
Let me ask you something.
Yes, sir.
It was suggested earlier this week by a friend of mine that there be a debate on the subject of should Walmart be nationalized, be taken over by the U.S. government. And I said, what kind of a crazy... that was how I reacted. But he pointed out, He said, with all the subsidies that we're providing for them, that we've essentially bought it anyhow. So why aren't we reaping the benefits of it? He wanted to. He wanted to
get the economic analysis that applies.
He
there.
wanted to. Maybe I'm botching it up here. He was on the phone just a minute ago, but it dropped off, so I'm not even going to be able to take his call. I don't think, unless he calls back right away. But anyhow, he wanted to debate Charles Friedman about that idea, and I didn't even get a chance to call Charlie to run that by him, but I think that would be an interesting debate. Anyhow, Colonel Terry, thank you for calling KSCO 479-1080. Rick and Salinas.
Just real quick, I wanted to mention I've actually heard rumors from many sources that talk about Walmart being actually earmarked by the government, FEMA specifically, for disaster centers, or what do you call it? I don't even know what to call it, but they say that if we had a really bad national emergency, they would use Walmarts as centers to feed people and distribute the military stuff and possibly even detain people.
Well, that's a good thing to do.
But
I think that's a good thing.
We'll see.
So anyhow, very
Thanks.
interesting. Yeah. So Bond, I don't know if Bond had to drop off because he had to do other things, but he's the guy who wants to debate Charlie on that topic. But anyhow, here's Rick and Salinas about fundraising. Go ahead, Rick. You're on.
Yeah, there's a number of things I think you can take a look at. The first thing is do your GoFundMe account, and if you can have separate sections for each program, they can fund each program that way. But simple GoFundMe account would bring in funds, and anybody who wants to donate to the station can just go to the GoFundMe account.
Why haven't we done that? Patreon turned out to be not quite right for us. I don't want this to come out wrong.
No, you're funding the only
half a dozen people have donated $1 on Patreon, and we have to give like 10% of it to Patreon. So it isn't even worth the effort, So,
GoFundMe is 5%.
Not to be ungrateful, but we haven't done GoFundMe. That's a great idea. Thank you.
Okay, second one. This one I think you need to dig into, and you got a lot of tech guys that work for you, but Bitcoin. You've heard of Bitcoin?
Sure.
Why don't you create your own coin, the KSCO coin, and do an ICO? Yeah, it's an ICO. It's like the IPOs, independent private offering for stocks. It's an ICO. Yeah. There are new ones coming out every other day. There's currently 1,106 Bitcoins that are out, or versions of Bitcoins that are out there for sale. And that's your fundraising, and it's under the category of broadcasting. You're the only independent broadcaster in the nation. And you set your own coin up and start selling your coin for whatever, 10 cents a coin, or Pro Coin Currency just did an offering, $1,500 bought them 15,000 coins, roughly like that. And they wrapped it up on August 31st. And so all kinds of ways you can do it, but it's all, you got to check into the background of the technology, and you would put it under the category of broadcasting, and it would fund your whole operation. Set up your own coin, call it whatever you want to, KSCO coin, or whatever you want to call it. The MZ coin, you could call it the MZ coin.
We used to have KSCO dollars from Mr. Logic, and I actually have some of those printed ones that have my signature and his signature on it. But
let me give you
that they would really be worth anything.
That's more like Hillary Clinton on the $3 bill that I have. You get those all over the place. But here's 3 different websites. Jason can write them down, or you can write them down real quick. Look at them, and then you can look at it and maybe make a decision. Cryptocurrency.
Yeah. What's it called?
Cryptocurrency market capitalizations. It'll list all 106 of them. Number 2.
How do we get to be the next one in their progression?
That's the other two. The other 2 sites I'll give you, and you can read all the information on all these. The second one is coinschedule.com. It shows you all the new coins that are coming out there that are in the process of doing the ICOs and then actually getting onto the market. And the third one is bitinfocharts.com. Those 3 locations, you go to those 3, and you'll learn a whole bunch about Bitcoins, and then you can talk to your tech guys to see about the inner workings of setting up your operation for your own coin and issuing coins, and then have deadlines when you're going to. Okay? And the last thing, I don't know if you can put your whole operation into a living trust. Is that possible?
Yeah, you can do anything like that. I'm
so
thinking
put your
about a
station into a living
charitable
trust.
foundation or something.
Yeah,
but,
and if you want to get away from the station, put it into a living trust, and you run the trust, but you put somebody in charge of running it on a day-to-day basis, and you sit down and review things with them. If something should happen to you, some accident where you're unconscious and you can't do anything, the person that you put in charge of the living trust runs it.
Right.
Yeah, if you should die, then you give them instructions on what to do there. But you
Thank
can get
you.
away from the station more on a day-to-day basis that way.
Well, Rick, I already am out of that. That's no problem.
I know.
We'll do a whole program on that sometime if anyone's interested.
Okay,
Thank
all
you
right.
very much for your suggestion. There's Rick. Now here's Joe and Salinas. Real quick about the ferry building, Joe. I know.
Well, I got to talk about Colonel Terry. And he's got to be the son of Colonel Klink. He's just got to be, or the grandson of Colonel Klink. He is so incredibly stupid.
Yeah, you be nice.
Thinks.
That's.
Hey, that is being nice. Believe me,
He is
I
smart.
held back. Yeah, he's smart, all right. He's smart, all right. Look at, he says, just by his Colonel Terry-ness, that we don't have enough resources. He's the one who doesn't have enough resources above the neck. His mind is so closed. I don't know how many kids he has, but you know what? Let the other people have their kids. That's a resource. He looks at it as something that's bad. It's a resource.
We're going to eat into the news a little bit. Thank you, Joe. Here's Mike in Santa Cruz, PR advertising. To hell with the news. I want to hear what you have to say.
Okay, right. Hey, Santa Cruz Fair is coming up. It would be good to have a hot mic out on location and ask people out there interacting on what kind of programming they think. To hear.
Don't you think we do that Don't you think we do that too much already, including now?
Well, out at location, we're interacting with the
cross-section.
I see.
Out in location. Okay, well, yeah,
we're not
maybe.
just talking about university students. We're not just talking about what we say Live Okians or Santa Cruzians. We're talking about Watsonvillians. We're talking about Corraledians. We're talking about everybody that the whatever percentage of people traffics through the Santa Cruz Fair to be a presence. KSCO, I know you guys have had a booth there before, but actually hot mic interview people what they'd like to see in the station and maybe pique their interest in tuning in.
Okay. Advertising, that's what I really want to hear from you, because that's what it says on the board you want to talk about.
Sure. Well, that's kind of a little data when people tell you what kind of shows they'd like to have. That gives you a little bit of targeting information for advertising.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for calling 479-1080. So that's it. That's the end of the program here. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Jason, and see you next week.
Thank you.
That's all, folks.
KSCO, Santa Cruz, Salinas, Monterey, Santa Fe. It's a little after 12 noon. Here's the news in progress.
The gas pumps bundled up, wrapped in plastic or in tarps. No gas lines because none of these gas stations are open.
In the Caribbean, meanwhile, thousands remain without shelter from Barbuda to the Virgin Islands thanks to Irma. This is Hurricane Jose is expected to brush that region in the next several hours with high winds and heavy rain. The death toll in Mexico's earthquake has risen to 64, with 3 more deaths reported in the southern border state of Chiapas. The state government now says 15 people died there due to Thursday night's magnitude 8.1 quake, in addition to 45 reported dead in Oaxaca and 4 in Tabasco. The CEO of Equifax, Rick Smith, apologizing for the cyber attack on his database with an unprecedented offer.
First priority must be to support consumers. To that end, we're taking unprecedented step of offering every U.S. consumer in the country a comprehensive